Two portals lead to certain death. Choose wisely.
Whoa, wrong door.
I swear every time I finish playing this game, I feel like listening to some cheesy black metal because that's the type of vibe I get from this game. This game is like every campy B-horror movie mashed into one shooter, and all these years later, it's still awesome because of it. If there's another FPS that combines creepy music, over-the-top gore, and cheesy one-liners like this, then I haven't played it. For those that don't know, Blood is the second of the big three build engine shooters that came out during the mid to late 90s, and the first game developed by the underrated Monolith Productions. Same guys responsible for the recent Middle-earth games, although nerdy fucks like me know them more for all the cult classics they pumped out throughout the 2000s. Similar to how Duke Nukem is a satire of 80s action movies, Blood is a satire of 80s horror movies. You got references from The Shining,
Here's Johnny,
Friday the 13th, and a bunch of other shit that I was too lazy to record. I'm a sucker for shit like this. I love horror movies like Brain Dead and Evil Dead that don't take themselves too seriously and are mostly there to entertain. Blood is in the same vein, just in video game form. It plays similar to Duke Nukem 3D, which I'll talk about in a little bit, but unlike Duke Nukem 3D, this game actually attempts to have a plot for some reason. You play as Caleb, some creepy Undertaker looking motherfucker who gets betrayed and killed by your cult leader named Chernobog, who's essentially Satan. He also kidnaps your girlfriend, and for whatever reason, Caleb rises from the dead a couple years later.
I live again.
From here, he's hell-bent on getting revenge against Chernobog and his cult of followers and possibly saving his girlfriend. That's really about it. Here, you simply just play through the game. Apparently there's more backstory to Caleb and the other cult members on Monolith's website, but since it's not in the game, I don't really give a damn. I'll tell you what I do give a damn about though, the look of this game. This is definitely the best looking of the big three build engine shooters if you ask me. A large part of it is its grotesque horror aesthetic, but also the game has good use of lighting and shadows throughout. Most of the walls are pretty detailed for a game of its time too. Although most of the game takes place in brooding castles and caves, it never feels monotonous. One place that definitely stood out to me was in the flesh where the whole environment is just guts and shit. Despite the dated graphics, this level still grossed me out, especially with all the weird crunchy sound effects that happen throughout the level. We don't talk about the CGI cutscenes though, those have aged like shit.
Rest in pieces.
I'll tell you what though, this game is definitely not lying with its title. If you have hemophobia, stay away from this because there's blood almost everywhere in this motherfucker, mostly when you're engaging with enemies. One of the things that set this game apart from other shooters of its time is how hilariously over the top the violence is. Those who were shocked about blowing aliens into pieces in Duke Nukem must have had a damn heart attack playing this. Every enemy you blow up in this game splurges out blood like a damn water fountain. When you blow enemies up, their limbs fly across the room and shit. You can shoot zombies' heads off and kick it. And when you set enemies on fire, they sound like they're in genuine pain. All of this not only makes the combat feel more visceral, but it definitely enhances the type of violent atmosphere that they were going for. Let me tell you, it feels mad good destroying a room full of these cultists and having their blood splatter everywhere because they'll waste no time doing it to you. I guess this is a good jumping off point to talk about the gameplay and how ruthlessly difficult it is. Make no mistake about it, this game is hard. Even if you're experienced with other shooters, this game will have its way with you. The time it takes enemies to kill you in this game is ridiculously quick. Everything hits like a truck, most encounters are group fights, and these cultists are the opposite of stormtroopers. They don't miss. Not to mention enemies are often hidden around corners, and half the weapons in your arsenal can kill you if you're not too careful. Seriously, even on normal difficulty, which I'm guessing is lightly broiled, you're gonna be like, "Oh shit! Oh shit!" when you see a cultist around the corner and all you have is a goddamn pitchfork. You gotta memorize enemy placements in order to be good on the mid to higher difficulties. It got to the point where I actually had to lower the difficulty to pink in the middle in order to make any sort of progress through this game. One of a handful of times where I actually had to play a game on easy mode before trying it on normal. Shit, I'm fully willing to admit that maybe that I just suck, but nah, I'm pretty sure that this game is just hard, and I recommend other newcomers to go through this game on easier difficulties also. No matter what difficulty though, there's no way someone can see shit like this their first time. When this game isn't kicking your ass, it's definitely fun to play though. Picture Duke Nukem 3D, but more well designed and bizarre. The general gameplay loop is the same where you go through labyrinth-like levels, killing all enemies in your way while searching for these keys to proceed through the level. The gunplay is just as solid as in that game, and that the shooting generally feels good. But Blood has the edge with how freaking weird your arsenal of weapons is. I mean, name another game where you use a voodoo doll to kill guys. Also, whatever the hell this thing is, would be a weapon I used more often if it didn't drain your health. I dig its secondary fire though. That's another thing, every weapon has a secondary fire which allows another way of use for each weapon, which is pretty dope. So instead of scorching people with the lighter, you can also turn that shit into a fire bomb and chuck that bitch. The go-to weapon in this game is definitely the electric gun though. Man, this weapon murks everything in this game in a couple shots. The crazy thing about it is that they're pretty generous about the ammo that they give you with it. However, nothing else in this game is more awesome than when you run into these akimbo upgrades. Dual wield every weapon for a short time and do double the damage. I haven't said shit about the enemies yet, and that's because they're all pretty good all around. The only enemy I don't mess with is these gargoyle things, not because they're hard or anything, but mostly because their AI can be really dumb at times. You know what's weird about this game is that it's somehow less convoluted to navigate through than Duke Nukem, even though a lot of the levels are larger. I guess that's just a testament to this game's level design because I didn't get lost in this game nearly as much as I did in Duke. Finding these keys and then finding the doors of the respective keys flowed pretty naturally for the most part, and as a result I definitely enjoyed going through this game a lot more than Duke Nukem. However, what Duke Nukem 3D does have over this game is that at least its bosses put somewhat of a thread. Every boss in this game I didn't even know was a boss until I got the CGI cinematic after. Something summarized with the fight with Chernobog. Man, that guy was a complete pushover. So the only question left to cover is what version of this game you should play, because just like the other build engine shooters, there's a lot of ways to play this game. You got the original 97 version, the Blood GDX and N-Blood ports, the 1 unit whole Blood version which is the original that includes the DLC, and then you got the Fresh Supply remaster which came out last year and showed throughout most of this video.
That's easy!
You should get the Fresh Supply version on GOG because not only does it provide a bunch of quality of life changes like a higher resolution and snappier controls, but you also get the 1 unit whole Blood version also. The only downsides to this version is the limited mod support and lack of multiplayer. So yeah, that's Blood. The best of the big 3 build engine shooters and frankly one of the best shooters of all time. If you're into hammy, gory stuff like this, then you really have no reason not to try it out. Hell, if you like shooting games in general and are looking for something with a different vibe, then you might as well try this out if you haven't already. Anyway, that's all I gotta say about this one, so until next time.